And he did. But he also put his name as a co-writer on all 40 of the songs. So that's our first lesson in publishing. Yeah, but Acuff Rose was one of the best, honest publishing companies, I guess, that's ever been. But the damage was done before they got a hold of the songs. They were just told, put my name first and the Louvin Brothers last, because I co-wrote the songs, of which that did not happen.
Yeah. Well, a lot of tricky stuff went on.
Yeah, well, Mr. Hill's not with us anymore. And I've got his name removed from Alabama because it became one of the state songs of Alabama. And I didn't feel that it was right for his name to be on there since he didn't write it. And he agreed to that, so he took his name off. And a few of the other things I got his name off of, but his name's still on a whole bunch of Louvin Brothers songs.
And it was Fred Rose who arranged, correct me if I'm wrong, but a recording contract for you and Ira with MGM in '51. And
that's very true.
And then later with Capitol Records a year later, and that's when you started recording for Capitol, that's when your music started to take off as in sort of the gospel genre of country.
Yeah, well, we just almost demanded that we mix the music. We up to that point when we first came to the Opry, we had never recorded anything for Capitol Records except gospel. We really needed to. There were shows that we couldn't even get on because we were gospel, and so we needed all the help we could get. We talked Ken Nelson and allowing us to, come with a gospel album and then a secular album and do it that way, and we did the rest of our career.
And your first big secular hit came in '55, I think it was, and with the release of the iconic song "When I Stop Dreaming."
Yeah,
and
that one did quite well.
You also had such other fabulous hits as "I Don't Believe You Met My Baby," "You're Running Wild," "My Baby's Gone," "Knoxville Girl," which did you and Ira write "Knoxville Girl," Charlie?
Lord, no, Paul. That song was written in 1740.
Wow.
That's an English folk song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been around for, I guess, 300 years, close to it.
Yeah.
It's the people still like to hear it.
I must have looked quick on the credits. You probably had it arranged by you. You and Ira arranged it.
Oh, yes. Anybody or everybody that records it will take an arrangement on it.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that with a public domain song.
Mm-hmm. And it's such a fabulous song, and you always sing it so well. You did back then and now, but it's kind of a twisted tune.
Well, if you'll listen to most all the old folk ballads, they're waltzes. Way too many of them are waltzes, but that might have been the only tempo that the writers knew back then was the waltz.
Yeah.
And, but they certainly wrote a lot of the old folk songs in that tune.
I could never figure out why he killed her.
Well, I could tell you that, Paul, you've never just really leant back and paid attention to exactly what the song said. In the third verse, it says, he took her by her golden curls and drug her round and round, throwing her into the river that flowed through Knoxville town. And then he said, go down,
mm-hmm.
you Knoxville girl with the dark and roving eyes.
Ah.
She had eyes for somebody else. And this guy was one of those nuts that believed, if I can't have you, nobody will.
Okay.
So that was there's a lot of those people out there today also, still around in the world. If they like a girl, they think that the girl should be crazy over them.
Mm-hmm.
And if she's not, well, she's really in danger.
Yeah.
But that was the gist of that song. There were several other of the songs that went along the same route. The hills of Roane County. The guy killed a girl and threw her out of the boat in the lake for that very same reason. She didn't like him near as much as he liked her.
No. And you and Ira have been cited by many of your fellow stars, such as Emmylou Harris, Johnny Cash, and Graham Parsons, as being one of their strongest musical influences. Do you have any idea why that's so? I have a few, but...
Well, I believe that it's the songs. We tried to do them best we could, but I've been asked on several occasions, did you and your brother think 50 years ago that the songs that you were writing and singing would still be around 50 or 60 years later? And I have to be truthful. We never was thinking like that. All we were trying to do was make a living. And it's very nice that the songs have lived this long, and they're still very much alive.
Would you have to say it was your harmonies, too?
Well, certainly that didn't hurt them. But the stories, the longevity of any song is how truthful is it, you know? Is it possible for somebody to have even done that? And I think that if it's possible and the material's right, that the songs will keep living, like the Knoxville Girl and Mary of the Wild Moor. And I could just go on adding folk songs to the list.
And you mind if we talk about the Grand Ole Opry a little bit? You and Ira became members in 1955, and you've been a member ever since. Did you consider achieving Opry member status to be a milestone of your career?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's what we had strived and worked for since from 1941 to 1955. It's 14 and a half years it took to make that dream come true.
And I always ask this to all the Opry stars that have been on the show. Do you remember who introduced you your first night on the Opry?
If I'm not sadly mistaken, I think it was Roy Acuff.
Roy Acuff.
Yeah.
The king of country music.
Yeah, and of course all of our songs was published in the publishing company that he owned half of.
Mm-hmm.
So he had more access to grind than just one.
Yeah, sure.
But Acuff was a good friend of ours and always did us right.
You recorded with him in later years, didn't you?
I recorded his song, The Precious Jewel, and he sung a couple of lines on it. And Mr. Acuff and I actually received a Duet of the Year award on an indie label because of Precious Jewel.
Yeah, it's a fabulous recording. I'll have to see if I have that one with me here tonight after the interview. But after you and Ira parted ways in '63, you went on to have an equally successful solo career, and such hits as Think I'll Go Somewhere and Cry Myself to Sleep. Here's a Toast to Mama, Will You Visit Me on Sundays? And, of course, the song that you said if you ever had a signature song, it would be this one, See the Big Man Cry, Mama.
Yeah, that was written by a friend of mine, Ed Bruce. And I think that I asked Ed one day, were you really that mean? Because I knew he'd gotten a divorce or two. He said, hey, we won't talk about it. He didn't want to talk about it, but that kind of meant a yes to me, but that might not have been.
And in the 70s, the early 70s, you also recorded a fabulous LP with Melba Montgomery, Something to Brag About, and that certainly stood the test of time, too.
Yeah, Something to Brag About, and I believe the title of the second one was Baby, You Got What It Takes.
Okay, yeah.
Something to Brag About and Did You Ever was on the first one. But they did quite well. The record label wanted to make fun of this one song too many. But we had some great ballads on those albums.
Mm-hmm.
But I was unable to get them to release a ballad